even pre-pandemic, a dollar stays in the Black community for 6 hours was the statistic that you'll find. And if this is true, no matter how much money we have or comes into the community, it's not going to stay there. So our goal initially started out with, how do we keep money? How do we circulate money in our communities longer?
Welcome to Unlocking Moves, which is the show where we try to unlock those key pivotal moments and decision points that really unlock the success of entrepreneurs and leaders and really change the trajectory of their careers and even their lives. Y'all are in for a treat today because I've got a great story of Carmen, Dianne, and Kara Still and their company, Prosperity Markets. You're going to love their story. But before we get into the story, ladies, you know that I like to start each episode with an off-the-wall question or comment to really throw you on your toes. You guys ready for this?
Let's go.
All right. So, Kara, you drew the short straw. And here's the question. It's really more of a comment. And oh my gosh, you told me before that you are a recovering acrobat. I don't think I've ever met an acrobat. So you got to tell me, like, do some routines, do something. Show me, tell me, what is that about?
It's not so much a recovering acrobat as kind of like practicing contortion. I've always been a little more flexible than your average. And so that's something that I like to do in my spare time. Like right now, like I want to work on making my feet touch my head. Like I want my toes to curl over my forehead, like just that kind of stuff, just stretching it out in between business.
Well, two things. First of all, we got to see you stretch your legs over your head right now. Not really. But I got to tell you, Carmen, the vision I had in my head was her hanging from trapezes, like swinging over tigers and stuff. Not what I expect. I didn't expect just the stretching.
Well, I love that she corrected the acrobat with contortion, which is like, is that in my mind, it's the same thing. What even is contortion?
I think contortion is more for a circus. Acrobat is for Cirque du Soleil.
That's exactly right. That's exactly it.
I'm just joking. Hey, as you guys could tell, we're in for a treat today. We've got Carmen Dianne and Kara Still. They're co-founders of Prosperity Market, and that is born out of the pandemic. It is a food truck and a farmer's market in one, and they're focused on Black farmers in LA, and they're bringing fruits and vegetables to underserved markets, neighborhoods that didn't really or don't really have access to those types of foods. Before co-founding Prosperity Market, Carmen was a makeup artist. She trained and studied in France, and she has a business degree. And Kara spent many years in retail as a store manager and also in fashion design, or as a fashion designer. She also studied psychology at Howard University. Ladies, welcome to Unlocking Moves.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. That's the most in-depth intro we've ever had. How'd you learn all that?
I've got a
Sounds
super
like you did the
sleuth.
research.
We do a lot of research. And hey, we got some key questions coming to you, so y'all be on your toes.
Okay.
Hey, before we dive in, Carmen, I just asked Kara the off-the-wall question about being an acrobat. I know you have a lot of cool factoids about yourself, so here you go. We're going to put you on the hot spot. Okay. What is, on Instagram, you have it listed that you're a faux comedian. Tell me what that means.
First of all, you found my personal Instagram. How did you? I need to make that thing private. During the pandemic, I realized I was funny, I think. But really what it was everybody was trapped in their house with nothing to do. So people would read my stories and I would just make little jokes, and I took it very lightly. And I turned it into a book called Quarantine D for Quarantine Diaries. That lives in the interwebs somewhere.
I like that. So it's a lot of funny stories from during the pandemic.
Yeah, just little day by day. It's like kind of like a diary, like literally day 1, day 2, day 3, but just nothing serious at all.
Oh, that's very cool. And I'm sure it kept you sane during the pandemic.
It did.
I love it. Well, I'm going to have to go search for Quarantine D now. Hey, so I want to dive into your story because it's awesome. You're both in LA now. You both grew up in Maryland, but as I understand it, you didn't really know each other, didn't know each other well. And then one of you is a fashion designer, one of you is in makeup, and honestly, that doesn't scream farmer's market. So you got to tell me more.
Well, yeah, so Carmen and I knew mutual people in Maryland back home and separately ended up in LA, which we never thought would have been the case, and reconnected here based on her being a makeup artist and me being a fashion designer. And we ended up working on a couple of like independent films together, and that's how we reconnected. But yeah, I actually moved to LA just because I wanted to. It was more like I was driving to work one day when I was working as a retail manager, and I was like, you know what? I could just move to LA. And it was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And went back to school for fashion design, and then started working in that industry. And that's really how I ended up here, never knowing that prosperity market was anywhere on the horizon.
I love the lack of plan. It's becoming a theme on this podcast. I still have no plan, which makes my wife crazy. But no, the lack of plan is really a good theme. All right, how about you, Kara?
I came to LA for Hollywood. I wanted to work in TV and film. I came out here and I went to school for special effects and prosthetics. And I did also go to school for that in Paris as well. So wherever you got your information from was correct. And I was doing that for the whole time I was here until the pandemic when nobody was working and we started Prosperity Market.
All right, good. Let's go straight to that. So during the pandemic, you're lamenting the fact that there's no food. I mean, tell me how that came about.
So if you read Quarantine Deed, then you'll you'll know that I
Don't give me
took the
homework now. Come
pandemic.
on.
We took the pandemic, or I did. I took the pandemic very lightly. I wasn't super panicked. I watched Netflix, all of Netflix. Um, and then it got to a point where I was like, maybe I should read a book or just like try and do something productive. So I started reading these really revolutionary books like Asada Shakur and Huey P. Newton's speeches and writings. And so I was kind of in this mindset already. And then, 2020 was a wild year. So everything we witnessed, the witnessing the murder of George Floyd and the aftermath, um, that's what made the pandemic hard for me. Like all of those emotions that came up. And it was interesting for me because this isn't the first time that we've experienced these type of situations. So this affected me way differently than it ever has in the past. And I felt burdened to do something about it. And Kara and I had a lot of conversations about what was happening and felt like the best thing that we could do was figure out a way to support essential Black owned businesses because all this money was being pledged to Black owned businesses. But we know that, even pre-pandemic, a dollar stays in the Black community for 6 hours was the statistic that you'll find. And if this is true, no matter how much money we have or comes into the community, it's not going to stay there. So our goal initially started out with how do we keep money? How do we circulate money in our communities longer?
I like it. So when you say in the community for 6 hours, meaning somebody from outside the community owns a store and immediately, moves on. So no, it didn't really go to too many jobs. It didn't go to too many services. It doesn't go to, there's no farmers that you're supporting, in other
Well,
words.
there's very few Black owned businesses being supported at all. And so if that was the statistic before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic, when so many businesses closed and didn't reopen, Black owned businesses were the hardest hit. 40% of all Black owned businesses in the country closed and did not reopen. 40%.
Wow.
And then you put all of that on top of the things that we're dealing with, in addition to the social unrest, which is then supply chain issues, and then people being worried about trying to get food, and all of us then waiting in grocery store lines. And it's like, wow, these issues that really were sadly kind of relegated to specific areas and communities that were facing kind of food insecurities were now a bigger problem that almost everyone could relate to. And so that just broadened our conversation. Like, what would it look like to be able to make an economic impact by supporting Black owned businesses but also address the most essential thing, which is food.
Wow.
So having essential businesses and then being able to do that by supporting Black-owned farmers and food businesses, and also expanding the reach to every area, because everyone should be able to have that kind of access to food.
So I love the vision, and I love what you're doing for the communities. And honestly, I love what you're doing for farmers too, but I don't mean to skip ahead. Tell me, a lot of people have ideas, whether, sitting on the couch during a pandemic or watching Netflix or whatever. Not many people follow through. So first of all, kudos to you guys for following through, but tell me a little bit more about what that means to follow through. Cause I know it wasn't snap your fingers. You got a food truck in, in Compton.
Kind of thought it would go that way a little bit. I thought that we could just tell somebody our idea and they'd be like, great, here's the money. Didn't work that way. I think that the first thing we did was just heads down researched for like 6 months straight. And one thing I'm really glad we didn't do was that we didn't keep researching, which, I mean, yes, do your research, but you can get in, what do they call it? Analysis paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just another way to procrastinate. So I am proud of us that we took all of our research and our learnings, and we really had fire under us. We were ready to go.
And it really just felt like it was our mission at that point. Like, it really just felt like one of the few things that we could do for at least a portion of the pandemic was hike. So Carmen and I went on a lot of hikes while we were having these conversations, and like, what does it look like? And when we finally decided, we were just talking, and then we kind of looked at each other and it was like, so we're going to do this? Like, and that's what it was. And from then on, it was really just like, this was given so that we could just take it on. So it wasn't even a matter of if we will or if we won't. It was just like, how do we figure out how to get it done? And so that research led to just cold calling and reaching out to people and really learning on the fly. And thankfully, we had such warm receptions from people that we reached out to, and they were willing to connect us with other people, share their knowledge. And it really just became us putting the pieces together from these amazing people who have been doing all of this work before us, and taking our unique perspective and vision and carrying out what we were given in our idea and our plan.
Well, I appreciate that, the backstory. Now let's jump ahead a little bit to what is Prosperity Market. What do you guys do so our listeners can get their arms around, like, how complicated was this? And it wasn't a snap the fingers, right? And I know it's complicated, but I also know it's great.
So Prosperity Market is a mobile farmers market. We feature Black farmers, food producers, and chefs, and we travel all over LA, making it easy to support Black-owned businesses while bringing food access to community.
Sounds like someone's been working on our elevator speech. That sounded good. That sounded good.
Nice and concise, right? Now let's get into it.
Right. So what that looks like in real time is, for the past 3 years, we've been doing pop-ups all over LA. We've been everywhere from Compton to Malibu and everywhere in between. We also have an online marketplace that we started at the same time that we started our mobile farmers market. So anyone can shop online, and we do local pickup, local delivery, and national shipping. And we just recently debuted our farmers market on wheels, which was the original goal, which is a 48-foot trailer that is half farmers market, half food truck, so that we can get that thing on the road and start driving right into neighborhoods and bringing all of the amazing products that we sell.
Nice. And as I understand it, there's a launch coming up soon for the online marketplace.
So for our online marketplace, it's really great because we have select products available all the time. So like, if somebody were to go to prosperitymarketla.com right now, you could buy certain like non-perishables. And then once
Get
a
the
month,
cookies and the oat milk.
and then once a month, we open up our entire marketplace so that we have the full selection of produce and goods. And that actually will start on March 25th for the full selection. But if you can't wait, you can go now and shop a little bit of what's there.
Well, I think we're going to drop this podcast right around that date. So hopefully it works. And we'll be responsible for all the millions of consumers who are coming to your site.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Very much.
So help me get my arms around this. So we've got a food truck that has both vegetables and all the stuff that you find at this farmer's market. And you've got a chef doing things, amazing things with those fruits and vegetables, making some great creations. And that sounds awesome. And you said you have pop-up. So you're bringing basically farmers markets to different neighborhoods, weekly, monthly, quarterly. Tell me more about that. That sounds pretty cool too.
So I do want to clarify, the food truck on the trailer, we'll actually be renting that out to different chefs and food entrepreneurs. So they'll have their concepts that'll be kind of switching up at
cool.
a consistency.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like a new restaurant that'll be with us all the time.
Very cool. And then what about the pop-ups? So pop-ups, are they farmers markets in different locales?
So the pop-ups that we do, we used to do them monthly. Now we're slowing it down a bit to bring, as we're like preparing for trailer launch. And after the trailer is launched, we're gonna hold on to our flagship pop-ups. So that looks like our anniversary market in February every year. In August, we always do a really big market because August is Black Business Month. So we do a month-long scavenger hunt that ends at our market. That's a lot of fun. And we may have another big event.
Nice. Well, you're going to have a lot of fans because you guys are easy to love. And so how can we help? How can I support your business? You got an online marketplace. Is that the best place for me to go and try to support what you guys are doing?
It definitely is. The online marketplace is available to everyone. So if you're looking to support Prosperity Market, if you're looking to find out what we do, if you're looking to get your hands on some of the amazing products that we sell from some of the amazing vendors that we work with, that is absolutely the best place to go, because it can be delivered right to your door or shipped anywhere nationwide. But if you're in the area in LA and you want to come to one of our pop-ups, you can always check our website for updates or follow us on Instagram at prosperity.market so that you know when we're in person. And then if you just want to contribute to the work that we do, you can also support us. We have a support page to contribute on our website. But the biggest thing is shop with us. We want you to discover these amazing foods and vendors and all of that stuff, because we know that once you try any of the products, you'll definitely be back.
My business partner, Velvet Schmitz, lives in Southern California, so she is going to go check you guys out, I promise you. And I want to get my hands on one of those mannequins. Where can I buy one of those mannequins over there?
This was actually from one of the stores I used to work at. When we had a remodel, they were like, you guys can take stuff because we don't want it. So I took the bust for them because I thought it was pretty cool. And, you know, when I was sewing, because I don't really have a lot of time for that now, you know, sometimes she would wear some clothes.
Nice. But you don't use it for your, what is it called? The calisthenics? No, what's the acrobat stuff?
No, she's not stable enough for that.
All right. So, hey, Carmen, I want to touch on a topic that I know is near and dear to you. And that is, it's such a great segue because y'all's business, or sorry, your backgrounds are so unique for your business. But what you've done before, you as a artist, a makeup artist, you, Kara, as a fashion designer in retail, it's put you here and you're making an impact on your community in a different way. But those unique gifts that you learned along the way set you up for this. Tell me a little bit about your thinking on that, Carmen.
I think that it's important for us to not discount our backgrounds, no matter what they are. And it could be easy for us to write ourselves off like, oh, I don't know how to do a farmer's market. I don't know anything about this. But that the advantage to us coming from our backgrounds is that we can look at things objectively. We haven't been in it to know, to get jaded yet. You know, it's not like this won't work, and won't work because of this. Like we can come in with fresh ideas and challenge the system as we're learning it. And I think that's an advantage.
I love it. There's forget who said it, but basically you are where you are, and you are where you are for a reason. And God has put you on this spot on this earth, and with your background, your unique skills, your unique gifts for whatever you're going to create in the future. And obviously you guys are doing some amazing things with your gifts. And does any of that resonate with you guys?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I just think back to the very start of the concept. And if we can make it from there to here,
Yeah,
you
anything
are
is
where you
possible.
are, and it doesn't have to be where you stay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that that's an inspiration to many of our listeners and viewers, because you guys can't have a more disparate background for what you're doing now, but you're being successful. And I talk to a lot of folks in transition, as you can imagine, in the recruiting business, and they've got whatever head trash, whatever background they have, they think they have to do the same thing. And the reality is they don't. And they can make the future whatever they want the future to be, and they can leverage those experiences, but it doesn't mean that you are always a makeup artist because you were in the past.
One of the things that we actually hear a lot, that I think people see that translates from our background is, I guess, the style that we've brought to the food space. Being that we both come from creative backgrounds, a lot of people instantly recognize, whether it's from our website or the way we show up or our events or whatever it is, like, oh, you don't look like traditional food people, and like it's okay. So I think that's been exciting for people too. So in addition to us kind of flipping ideas on their head and stuff like that, just like the color, the fun, the creativity, the style of it all, I think has made a difference, and people have recognized and complimented that.
I can vouch for it. Your website is cool, and there's lots of cool colors, and that's where we did a little bit of our research. But we found your Instagram, Carmen. We have to. Hey, so now we're at the part of our show where I ask you about your unlocking move or moves. What are some key pivotal moments or decision points that really unlocked your success or changed your trajectory?
The first one, so for our first market, we had an LA Times article on us. And first market, and we had a write-up in the Sunday LA Times paper. And that's wild. But that happened because I was in Clubhouse. I was in Clubhouse one day, and I had just shared a little bit about what I was working on. And someone in Clubhouse heard what I had to say and reached out and really loved the concept and wanted to support, and introduced us to a writer for the LA Times, and has since helped in so many ways. She's volunteered at our market. She's just really invested in the success of this. But something so simple led to an LA Times article to kick off our event.
Well, there's two things I like about that story. Number one is you were speaking about what you do. You weren't just being quiet and doing research, and you gave someone the opportunity to overhear. And someone, I'll call them an angel or her an angel, heard and put you out there and gave you that. And those types of things happen to us or have the opportunity to happen to us every day. And, God bless that person who put the article in front of the LA Times to consider.
I actually call her our PR fairy godmother. So you
Fairy
were
godmother.
you were right on.
I love it. I love it. Any other key moments that obviously besides you guys meeting each other and having some kindred spirits and, from Maryland or whatever, what are some other key moves?
One of the things that comes to mind way before Prosperity Market ever existed was, I have a cousin. She's a writer now. And my dad's family was in New Jersey. So every summer I would go to New Jersey to visit my cousins, my aunts and uncles. And this one summer, she was interviewing our grandmother for a paper she was writing. And she was just like asking all these different questions and all this. And I think, I don't know, maybe I was like 14 at the time or something like that. And just in the conversation and the way she was asking the questions, and just that something just was different about it for me. And it really had me see for myself how well I listen and I learn and I acquire information and I utilize that information. But something about that moment had me see that I wasn't generally curious outside of myself with other people. Like I've always been someone who gave people the space to share, but I would never like push or pry for information. And just the way that interaction went, it gave me a new point of view about what it could look like to inquire and ask questions of someone without, I guess, without feeling pushy or without feeling like you were trying to dig in a certain way. And just something about that moment, it just rang differently for me. And so that was like one of the times that I really was like, oh, like you can get people to open up without feeling like you're prying. And so that's just something that kind of stands out to me, because had I never kind of seen that interaction, that's just a realization I wouldn't have had, which really has helped along the way with everything that I've done.
I love the use of the word curiosity. And you're not prying, you're not being nosy, you're curious, you're asking questions. And what most people don't do, Kara, is they don't ask that deeper question when they have a nugget that says, there's something here I need to ask about more, if that makes sense. We see it a lot with mental health now. You don't ask that next question. And you guys are doing the same thing in your business. You're asking that next question. Well, why not? Well, how could I, what if I did this? What if I did this? And it's
And
beautiful.
I would usually just, I mean, and still sometimes I have to catch myself, but I would usually just try to figure it out on my own rather than like really just engaging in a different way. So yeah.
Like it. Thank you for sharing. Carmen, were you going to say something on that?
Um, I think that I'm sure there are many like there are definitely many big moments that we've had, but I think that it was all the little moments in between that prepared us for that moment. Like Good Morning America was a big moment for us that unlocked a lot of things, but it it took so many small moments to get there.
I love it. That's a good sound bite right there. Everyone's looking for the big moments, but really is all the smaller moments in between. That sums up our lives too, right?
Very much.
I love it. All right. So I consider myself the listener's advocate. You know, if I've got Carmen and Kara here, one-on-one, one-on-two, like what kind of questions would I want Kurt to ask? And so, Carmen, I'm going to go to you. And I know you've got a background as a makeup artist for presumably stars and movies or whatever. Give me some cool stories about people you've done makeup for, something, maybe the craziest thing you've done, the funniest story, whatever.
Hmm. Oh man. Crazy story.
Didn't have to be crazy. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. We signed NDAs. I can't.
Maybe like a favorite moment or
You know what? The moment that came to mind. So I worked on I'm trying to think of the actual name of the movie because it changed. It was like a working title and then the real title. Nate Parker's latest American Skin. American Skin.
American Skin.
There was a moment filming that where all the actors just started sharing their experiences. And I mean the film is about, well, the scene is about they're in it's prisoners and cops that are in this room together having a conversation. And everyone started sharing their real personal stories, experiences with cops or just with growing up. And it was such a touching moment. And I'm like in another room watching from a screen, listening from the headset. And it was just, I thought that was really cool.
I like it. It goes back to the sharing moments and being curious and asking questions and getting to know people relationally. That's really what both
Yes.
those comments were about. All right. So I've got a kind of a trick question for you guys, and I'm going to throw it to both of you. And I've got a backup in case I don't get what I'm looking for. The question is, tell me one thing that you're never asked, but either you kind of wish someone would ask you, or frankly, you're glad they don't ask.
Hmm.
I got some dirt if I don't get anything.
Nobody ever asked me about my book.
Carrie, get first opportunity.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, let me ask this. I'll ask this of Carmen while you're thinking, Kara.
Okay.
And that is, Carmen, you used to be a bodybuilder. You did some competitions. And I even heard that you wanted to secretly be a WWE diva. Tell me more about that.
I did. You know what it was? I probably was in college at the time. I saw the show Tough Enough, where everyone was like training to go to the WWE. And I was like, I could do that. I want to do that. I promise you, that's what sparked my fitness journey. Tough Enough. And I feel like, well, I probably won't make the WWE, but I can do a fitness competition. So that's check that off my bucket list.
I love it. Thanks for playing along. Carrie, anything come up? We can move on if you'd like.
I mean, well, before fashion design, my first love was actually music. So like I sing, and then I went to school for psychology because before I was ever going to go into fashion or prosperity market, I actually wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to go into adolescent psychology. So lots of very opposing fields and areas of interest, I guess you could say.
Hey, it makes you diverse. I love it. And I'm always intimidated talking to people with psychology backgrounds because I know they're just analyzing me and figuring out how wrong I am and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna make a joke about dealing with business owners, but I'll leave that alone.
Well, hey,
don't worry, I never got the full degree, so you're only getting half analyzed anyway. It's
perfect. Perfect. Hey, so prosperitymarket.com. Where else can we learn more about you guys?
ProsperityMarketLA.com.
Well, I'm going to scratch that. ProsperityMarketLA.com. Where else can we find information about you guys or about what you're doing? I really want to support you in your launch and what you guys are doing.
You can find us on Instagram at prosperity.market. You can stop there. Don't look for any other, don't look for any personal accounts. What's our Twitter, Kara?
Yeah, Carmen, you said you're going to take yours down so it will no longer be public.
Yeah, and Twitter is prosperity MRKT. So like market, but without the vowels.
All right. Prosperity MRKT for Twitter, prosperity.market for Instagram, and Prosperity Market LA for the website. And that's where we can order some fruits and vegetables and other products.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go. Well, hey, ladies, on that note, we're going to wrap this puppy up. I'm going to ask everybody to go, please like and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. We love those all the time. And ladies, I can't thank you enough for being my guests on Unlocking Moves. Kara Still, Carmen Dianne, and Prosperity Markets.
Thank you for having us.
5 stars. 5 stars.
Let's go. 5 stars. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
10 fingers.